$100 an hour doing nails. Is that even possible? Tracey and I are going to explore this right now on the Biz Talk. $100 an hour doing nails.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting topic of conversation. That's a lot of dough, Trace. That's a lot of dough.
Sign me up. I quit.
Okay. I quit. Holy Jesus. I'm like, that one caught me a little off guard. Okay. So let's actually run the numbers on this. Is it possible to do $100 an hour? So that means you're either charging $100 an hour for full sets, or you're doing multiple fills an hour that are adding up to $100 an hour or more. So what does that look like in terms of service? Is that possible? Is it possible, first of all? Let's just answer that question. Is it actually possible?
Yes.
It is.
It is.
You said that without missing a beat. You are going to quit, aren't you? You're like, yes.
I forget this stuff sometimes. I'm like,
what am I doing here?
what am I doing?
Okay. How is that even possible, first of all?
I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
But it is
definitely
possible.
not easy.
I mean,
okay.
if you look at how much is we do, the pricing structure that we suggest, totally doable. When you're doing $90 sets that are starting out and it takes you about an hour to do, and then you figure out you're going to probably have tip, you're about $100 an hour there. And then, for me, for fills, it's 60, and I take 30 minutes to do that. So if I'm booking 2 in an hour, I'm making over $100 an hour.
Okay.
But it's a lot of planning. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot of planning.
Yeah.
Number one, like you're talking about scheduling, but also what kind of nails are you doing? I think this is the big point here, right? Because you can't say, yes, you can do 30-minute fills, but do any type of nails you want and offer every type of nail service that you want, right? Like you have to have your clients, they've got to understand that there's going to be some limitation in terms of what type of nail art they're going to get, correct? So like what do the services look like? When you're talking about 30-minute fills, we've done this on our real-time series. If you haven't seen them, guys, go back and watch them. Tracey, Stephanie, they're doing 30-minute fills, 50-minute full sets all day long. Okay, we actually show you how to do this, but what do the services look like in terms of, 30-minute fills? Like, what does that actually look like?
So I talk a lot about being in control of your schedule, so that for me is first. So
everything.
It is everything. So my clients knew that every 2 to 3 weeks, after they had their full set or a rebalance, which I think today we actually did a video, maybe we can link it, on what's the difference between a fill and a rebalance.
Oh, I like that.
So that's important to know. So after they had a full set or a rebalance, they knew 2 to 3 weeks, it was a fill appointment, 30-minute appointment. That's what you're getting. Now, in that time, not only can we do a fill, but we can still do a gel polish. We can still do, we can change your nails up in some form, but it's a 30-minute service appointment.
Right.
2 to 3 weeks after that, I gave them an hour appointment. And then that gave them the time to completely do a rebalance, restructure, removal, whatever they wanted to do in that appointment. Okay,
so just to make sure I understand, you give a client a full set. Let's say a new client.
Okay.
Let's start from the beginning.
Yep.
You start with a new client, it's $90. If they have add-ons, it's going to be over $100 for a full set plus tip, all that stuff. They come back in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. They're getting a 30-minute fill.
They're getting a 30-minute appointment.
Okay. They come back in 2 weeks after that. Still fill?
No.
Then it's rebalance.
It's a rebalance.
Okay, so that's 45?
Yeah, because so structurally what the video talks about today is how everything kind of moves after that. 2 weeks, there's very little movement. Everything's in its place. 2 to 3 weeks after that, everything's kind of off balance, and that you have to restructure and kind of move everything back, the strength where it needs to be, making the tip thinner where now it's kind of thicker.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of readjusting everything and making it look brand new.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that's going to take about an hour. You would book an hour appointment for that?
If they're looking to redo their artwork completely, remove glitter, maybe smile lines, things like that, yes, I'm going to book it in an hour.
Okay, and what are you charging for that rebalance?
A rebalance started at 80, so full set is 90, a rebalance is 80.
Okay, so, and then your fills are 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the difference there, Habib, is because it takes more time.
Of course.
And you're using more product. And you're really, I always give the example of getting your hair done. It's like they're making the old look new again. They're not going half price because they've done your hair before. They're really making readjusting everything.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay, so if you run the numbers, I could see that, because if you're doing, if you have a lot of your services are 30 minutes, $60, and then you're bringing in rebalances at 80, and then you maybe have a couple of full sets in there from time to time. I mean, once you're rolling with a full clientele, you're not doing a lot of full sets. It's Correct. All maintenance at this point.
All maintenance. And that's why we have to really think about our timing and our pricing, because you're not getting those full set prices all the time. So, when you, and it's what I did when I first started out. I was taught that, my fills were half the price of a full set. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
We're, again, making the old look new again, completely redoing a lot of stuff. So no, it's not half the price.
Right. Your rebalances.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Even my fills, it's not half the price of a full set.
Right. You're going 60, 90. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's still a large portion. It's not half. Half would be 45. You're at 60. So
right.
Yeah, you're still charging more. So, okay. How likely is it for people to actually average $100 an hour? I mean, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And you said from the beginning, you can do it. This is not easy.
It's not easy.
Definitely not easy, because it requires you to be really dialed in on your speed, on the types of services that you're doing, having control of your schedule, like you said, and not allowing your clients to dictate things. I think that's a big one, correct?
Your policies, and yes, being in control. And I don't mean that in a negative. I've always say this. I'm very appreciative of my clients that, I loved that they came to me and I appreciated their money. And then they respected my time and I respected their time.
Right.
So it's something you'll have to work up to. I mean, you don't start that overnight. You have to build the clientele and you have to start setting those policies and making sure people are following them. The ones that aren't following them, once you have a good clientele, removing them, getting people that do understand, then you start structuring your business the way you want it.
Right. So I'm thinking about this like long term, right? If somebody was to do this, you're talking about 40 hours a week. Majority of those, a good portion of those are 30-minute appointments. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about 60 to 70 clients a week. Potentially, some of them are rebalances, you're booking an hour, and then a good portion of them are, in those hours, you're taking double clients.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So is that realistic to do that over like a 10-year period consistently if you're dialed in? Or is it like, okay, I'm going to make $100 an hour, but I'm going to go 3 days a week? So when you say $100 an hour, I move that out to, like, okay, in a 40-hour week, you're making $200,000 a year.
Right.
But are you talking about that? Or are you talking about, I'm going to make $100 an hour, but I'm going to shorten my work week and shorten my hours so that, potentially you're making a little bit less, but the hours you do work, you're making $100 an hour. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, I get what you're saying. And it was what I did when I was in salon. I worked, because I had a small child at the time, I was working 3 days a week. I was doing 12 to 16 clients a day and just pushing everybody into that.
So 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was my option. Now, I could have expanded.
You could have done more.
I could have done more.
Yeah, but you chose.
I chose to do that. So yes, the possibility is there. Can you keep that up long term?
Maybe. It depends on you.
I think it really depends on the person.
Yeah.
There are people who love to work. I love to work. That's just my personality.
Yeah.
And if I'm at work, I want to be making as much as possible. So,
Right.
Again, that does not happen overnight.
Right.
It takes time.
It takes time. And I even yourself, you like to work. You still chose, obviously, because you have a family. You had a family at the time.
Yeah.
You had a young child. You chose to kind of shorten that. And that's the beauty of this business is you can work as much or you can adjust your schedule as needed.
Yeah.
That is really a beautiful thing about having your own like professional nail business.
We really are in a unique situation where we do something that we love.
Yeah.
And we get to kind of pick and choose our hours. But I always tell people, especially when they're first starting, not at first.
Yeah, no,
not at first.
Of course.
You have, you do things you just don't want to do.
Of course.
And you do days you don't want to do and hours you don't want to do. But the way I was able to do it, I finally got it into 3 days. And then I was able to, go help out my son's school once a week. And then, I helped other people with their kids and babysitting. I was able to do that.
Yeah, because you had options.
Yeah.
I think that's the key is I don't want people to freak out and go, $100 an hour, that's impossible. You can't. It's like, here's the thing. Like, I love whenever I look at a product launch that we do or even our business, I like to look at what is the ultimate, goal. What is actually possible? And that's what we're exploring. Is that possible? It is possible. I would venture to say there are people out there right now watching this that are like, yeah, it's possible. Yeah. I'm doing it. It's
I'm doing it.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, there are different marketing views on putting out a lot of content. And, there's one in particular, it was Gary V, who talks about putting out 100 pieces of content a day. And people are like, dude, that's impossible. It's crazy. No, actually it's not because we're pretty close to that. So we're one of those people that's like, no, we're doing it.
Yeah,
and
doing it.
We're kicking butt
Didn't
because
start
of it.
out like that.
No. It took years
Yeah.
to get to there. But I like to make comparisons of our experience and what we do. So is it possible? It is possible. It's going to take a lot of time organizing. And especially after talking to like you and Steph all this time now, I have so much better understanding, Tracey, of what does it actually take to get to that point. It's not about just the nails. There are so many other business things you got to do, like you talked about, the scheduling, the communicating with your clients and having them really understand, like, this is your appointment, your policies. In order for you to make that kind of money, all of it's got to be clicking, right?
It does. And it's work. It takes work. It's planning. It's work. It's looking at your schedule, making sure that you're not sabotaging your schedule, because we tend to do that, or letting other people sabotage your schedule.
Yep.
Really owning it, taking charge of it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. So I'd love to hear from you. What's your take on this? Are you making that? Have you hit that peak in your career? Are you working up to that peak? What's your take on this idea of making $100 an hour as a nail pro? Let us know. Tracey, thank you as always. And thank you guys for joining us. And we will see you next time on the Biz Talk.